Hi, guys. Welcome back to Elephants in the Room. I'm here with a very special guest today. I'm joined by my mom, Kimberly. You guys know a lot about my story, and obviously, you guys know that my mom has struggled with addiction on and off for almost all of her life. And this is something that I actually haven't fully shared yet. So I'm really excited to share that today. She's almost 2 years sober, which is huge because I have never really been able to experience a relationship with my mom when she's walking in sobriety for longer than a few months. So this has been really cool. And I'm really excited because I feel like I talk about this all the time, but I think we are products of our environment. And as much as what I went through as a child wasn't okay and it was really traumatic, we usually, hurt people. And I just feel like today I wanted to give my mom an opportunity to share her story because she has had a crazy life and she's been through so much. And she is choosing to not only walk in sobriety, but to start healing from all of her trauma and to start breaking the generational trauma cycle that has been created far before her. So say hi to Kimberly Mitchell.
Hi. Hey.
Mom, I want you to just tell them a little bit about yourself. How old are you? How many years did you struggle with addiction?
Well,
Hold the mic close to you.
I'm 56. I don't know. I'm not one of those count your time, but I started using marijuana at 9 and cross tops. It's like legal meth back in the day. Since I was like 9. And then I got pregnant with my oldest. Well, my second oldest.
Yeah, there's a lot to get into, guys. There's a lot to get into.
And I decided, I couldn't have kids and be high, so I quit and went back to church for a minute. And I think I had a good, you always amp up the years, but I think I had a good 10-year stretch of like being really churchy and good. But then I started in with the legal stuff, pills, stuff your doctor gives you. And so, it's been like a whole life thing since I was 9. And then when I got, I think 39, I had like a 10-year break of sobriety. And then I got into a car accident and it was a pretty bad one. And then I started up with the pills and everything. And eventually I found heroin, and to get off heroin, I got on meth, and then I just started a downward cycle of hell. And I think I got out of it. I've been sober from the heroin for 5 years, the meth, 2.5 with the slip. And then I hung on to my marijuana, which I loved so much, but it really didn't serve me. And so I got off my Adderall and marijuana and clonidine and all the, and I've been like really straight sober for like a year and a half,
Almost 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah, there's a lot we're going to get into, guys, but my mom has had, honestly, a life of a lot of trauma, struggle, and abuse. And yeah, she's been through a lot. And I think it's really, really, really special that after all that she's been through, she's able to try to really make a change in her life. And I think, I just think it's awesome. I think I've seen a huge shift in you the last year and a half. And I think there's so many people who go through a lot of the things you've gone through in your life and also who struggle with addiction. And I think it's going to be really inspiring for people to hear your story and understand a little bit more about where you come from. Like I said, I feel like it's so easy to look at people who struggle with addiction or mental health or just anything and judge. But I think a lot of them have a story, and there's usually a root to where that addiction started and why it started. And usually it's to numb the pain of something. So I think it's going to be really cool to hear a little bit more of your story. And for me, I'm really excited. And we actually have my sister and her girlfriend, Livy, in the room here with us too, listening to the story.
Coco.
And Coco, my little dog.
Yeah.
Because this is actually the first time in my life that I've had a relationship with my mom while she's sober since I was like 6 years old. So I've never really been able to hear her story fully from a sober-minded mind. So I'm excited.
Or trust and believe what I was saying.
Yeah. Not that I didn't believe what you were saying, but I think, you're much more clear-headed now. And I think you can share your story a lot more authentically and vulnerably. And so, I'm excited. So, okay, let's go back. Okay.
Let's go back.
Take me to the beginning. So what was your childhood like? Like if you could describe your childhood in 3 words, what would you describe? Before we're getting into like the really traumatic events, like kind of give us a picture of mom and dad, what that was like, how many siblings you had, kind of what your home life was like.
I had mom and dad. They were both just, I mean, from what I can remember, we were like the family to be, my dad built houses and he was very handsome. And I think like some higher up in the church or something. And my mom was, just that stay-at-home mom, and I think we had fair money. We had, a nice home, and I remember Christmases were great, and I think it was good. It was good from what I can remember.
Yeah.
But then my dad decided to leave. I think I want to say 5. And when I say, guys, when I talk about time frame, I also have a brain injury from a car accident, and time just escapes me a lot.
Time frames are hard. It doesn't, it doesn't need to be specific. Just what
when you live in use, it's just like, but I was young and he left my mom for another lady. I thought he was Kenny Rogers and she had this big cowboy hat. Anyways, he left with this cowgirl and just like broke my mom and left her devastated. And so I had 3 brothers, 1 younger and 1 younger sister and 2 older brothers. And we were a happy family. Like they played football. I was a little pom-pom cheerleader, and of what I can remember.
Yeah.
But I was young.
Yeah. What was that like? How old were you when your dad left your mom? And he had an affair with another woman. Is that right?
Yeah, he did. And he did some really nice things to my mom, and that were brought out. Like it was a big like break church-wise and family-wise. It was just a big, he had his problems, but he cheated on her pretty bad and also broke her heart, and just like her kind of just broke. Anybody that goes through the divorce knows that it just breaks up the family situation, but it was messy and dirty, and he didn't care. Like he just left and really didn't want us back.
Yeah.
So it was like.
So he abandoned not only his wife, but also his children. Because from what I remember of the story, he just up and left.
Yeah.
And didn't look back. And also it left you guys in a really tough position financially as well, because.
Well, he left my mom with the house in Provo on Center Street, but like he said, he was going to U-Haul down all our stuff, and it never arrived. Like he just, our beds or anything.
Yeah.
All of our skates, our stuff. And then we kept waiting for it to arrive. And my mom just kind of had shut down. Like she just didn't know how to deal with it. So my older brother was trying to figure things out. But we went and called my dad one day from 7-Eleven. And I remember him saying, "Oh, I have another family now. Don't call me anymore. There's no food coming. Your stuff is gone. Just make the most of it." And so it was like, we just stood there at that 7-Eleven. I remember just looking at my brother like, what?
Yeah.
And he's like, we'll be okay. We'll be okay.
Do you remember how old you were when this happened? Roughly?
Yeah, I was about 6.
6.
Yeah.
And from what I remember hearing from Grandma and you, like Grandma went into pretty deep depression after this happened, right?
Yeah, she just didn't know how to, she was like she was really just, her whole world was like, people's worldview she was just a wife and a mother, and that's what she did. And she didn't know how to be happy anymore.
Yeah.
So she would just sit and like wait for him to call or wait for him to come home or pray about it. And then the Lord was going to fix it and we were going to be fine. And so she was really, really sad. Like,
yeah. And sorry to cut you off. To give a little context for those of you who don't know, obviously, if you guys know my story, my family of origin is LDS Mormon. But obviously, grandma, your mom, is still LDS and you grew up in the church. So just to give a little context to that, if you guys know a little bit about that's the pretty traditional thing to do, is to just get married and be a wife. And
yeah,
that's kind of like your life purpose. They put a lot of emphasis on that. So I think when that falls apart for people, it's like huge on their self-esteem and purpose in life, because it's kind of like, oh, this was what I was supposed to do. So,
well, and she's Spanish, so she came from a very rigid Spanish, like she has a green card and that. So when she came, it was like she came, went on an LDS mission, married an LDS man, and that was it. You know, that's what she was going to do with the rest of her life. And so I don't think she really knew how to do anything else.
Do you feel like that was the start of maybe the season of your life where you kind of felt like you wanted to escape from your reality? Because I mean, you were abandoned by your dad and probably emotionally a little bit abandoned by your mom.
Yeah, I was very abandoned by my dad, but I think that more so than wanting to leave. I think like my older brother, who's like 7 years older than me and then 5 years older than me, the oldest one kind of just went off to kind of started selling drugs and trying to steal for the family. And, you know, because my dad told him, you're the man of the family now. So, but I think that more than wanting to run away, I had the younger brother and sister, so I was pretty much caretaking them.
Like the mother role. You kind of had to be the mom.
I was like the mother, and my brothers were like doing what they could do.
Yeah.
But my role was like, I just wanted to make my mom happy.
Yeah.
I didn't want her to cry. I didn't want her to, like, she would just sit there so sad and unable to do anything. And so I think that I kind of just thought, well, if I can make her laugh, if I can make everything okay. So I started that like caretaking and really much just trying to be, I don't know, like, oh no, it's great, Mom, he's going to come back. I kind of fell into her world and just kind of that started my people pleaser. Like when I went to therapy, they were like, what are you really like? I'm like a chameleon. Like whatever you need, I will be that. And at that time, I needed to be like the mom and kind of the husband and the mom and the caretaker, and I just tried to make my mom happy again. One day she walked off on a walk, like, and never came back. Well, she walked up to the mountains and they had to go find her, and we ended up going with grandparents and just that whole thing. But I think that I didn't want to avoid it. I just wanted to fix it so bad.
Yeah.
And then when I couldn't fix it, then it was like, okay, well, this all went to crap and I can't fix it. So I'm going to escape. And luckily, you know, my brothers had plenty of marijuana and I didn't know what they'd do. Like they'd sneak downstairs and they'd come up so happy and laughing. And I was like, what are you guys doing? Like, why are you happy? And then they eventually told me, you know, we smoke weed. And then I wanted to be with them all the time. Yeah. Because my mom was kind of gone, kind of there. And I just didn't want to be left out. So they let me smoke a little weed with them. And then that was just like, okay, well, now I can be somebody else than
it opens
this.
a whole thing. Like I can feel better and not really deal with my emotions. But yeah, I mean, thanks for sharing that first part. I think that's huge. And I think, I mean, I'll speak for myself, but I think all my siblings would agree. I think that's kind of the thing that we've all struggled with, is people pleasing and wanting to fit in. And especially I think the church conditions a lot of that too, especially in women. And so, yeah, that's really, really crazy to just hear that was kind of, as a child, your response to is like, oh, I need to be the fixer. I need to be the saver. You had to be in that motherly role. which is so hard, especially for someone so young. I mean, it's just not how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So kind of leading out of that, just to give a little context, you've got 2 older brothers, an older or younger brother, and then a younger sister. So 5 of you.
Mm-hmm.
So you're the middle child.
Yeah.
And after that happened, where do you feel like things went? What's the next thing that you remember that was really, really impactful for you? And what did things look like after that? Obviously, your brothers were struggling with addiction.
Yeah.
You were kind of in that motherly role, but what took place after that?
I remember them trying to get me like acclimated back to school because my mom wasn't having me really attend school. And then even when she was like, go to school, I didn't want to leave her side because I was so worried about her or my little brother and sister, like what will happen if I'm not there. And so they tried to get me to go back to school, and I don't know. I remember like I got in a really bad fight at school, and I was in all the resource classes, and I just remember that not going well for a while, and my grandma and grandpa just trying to like navigate it, and they didn't speak much English and like really know how to help us kids. And then the next big thing was my older brother, they went to guitar school back in Arizona because we moved from Arizona at one point, and they went to guitar school, and my oldest brother got hit by a car in a hit and run accident. And that was like the next big thing I remember was just his passing, and my dad wanting to come to the funeral and nobody wanting to come, and it was just drama. And I remember that broke my mom really bad. So we were like, even though I'd kind of gotten used to school and trying to get in and catch back up and live like a kid life, then it was like, okay, now my mom's lost my dad and her oldest son, and she just was like not good. And he was the one that was like kind of providing the stability and stuff. And so then I don't know, I think I think I just started running away then and going into like foster care, just running away.
Yeah,
and
the whole system of everything.
Yeah.
And sorry to track back a little bit. So I think I've maybe shared this before on the podcast, but you started using drugs when you were 8 years old, or was it younger?
It was close to 9, but it was like at the end of when I was 8. Yeah.
And you were getting them from your older brothers.
Yeah.
And you said you started with marijuana, and then it kind of led into a crossbreed of something?
Well, there's like cross tops is what I used to call them. They used to sell them at 7-Eleven, and I would steal them. And they were like legal meth, like just oddly. To me, they were. I don't even really know. I was a young kid. But then when my oldest brother died, the guitar school was in Arizona. So we moved out of grandma's and went back to Arizona. Mm-hmm. And my mom got an apartment and tried to live there. And my other brother took, like him and my brother that passed were so close. They were like almost 2 years apart. But it really broke him. And he started using meth and stuff. And so at that point, I just kind of jumped into the meth world.
Mm-hmm. Got it. So kind of those early teenage years.
Yeah, 12, 13. I was just running around, just following my brother around. Yeah. And I think he just didn't really want me to, but didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
And I was done trying to fix things at home. I couldn't do it. And the kids were getting older. So and they seemed to be falling into place. So I just kind of found my little niche in the little drug world. And I don't know.
Yeah, I also want to first just put out a trigger warning before we talk about this. For anything sexual assault, for anyone listening. I know that's something you've experienced in your life. Are you comfortable opening up about that?
Yeah. Is that crazy that you just asked me, like, what was it like? And I totally just like forgot that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like it was
I don't know what the science is behind this. I'm sure you guys have heard this before too, but something about like our brains like block out trauma. Like that's one of the things it's like hard to remember stuff. Like I remember one of my like funny stories in therapy is my first therapist, like, okay, I need you to make a trauma timeline and write down all the things that have been traumatic in your life. And I was like, okay. And I did it for like 3 weeks and I kept like remembering things. When I first did it, I couldn't remember anything. Like I feel like I'd blocked out my whole childhood. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this happened and this happened and this happened. So you kind of start to uncover. But I think it's just the way we protect ourselves. It's like if we don't have to think about it, then it doesn't feel like it would affect us.
My dad my dad was an uncle to 2 boys that came and lived with us. And I remember thinking I was so terrified of these 2 guys. And they would always trick me with gum to come and like, do you want a piece of gum? Come over here. And I remember that they'd take me in the closet. And I just remember being very fearful that I wanted the gum, but I didn't want to go in the closet. But they always tricked me into the closet. I'm thinking I'm maybe 4 or 5 young.
Wow.
And so I don't know what really happened in the closet. I know I didn't like it. I know that I think I remember telling my dad, and he was like, oh, they are just playing rough or something. And we just didn't talk about it again. And so for years and years, I didn't even really think about it. And then I remember asking my mom just probably maybe 10 years ago, I said, you know, the Lenny and Lemuel, whatever their names were. And she was like, oh yeah, they lived with us. And I was like, it just hit me like 1,000 pounds. Like that was real. If they're real, that was real. And I don't know what that was, but so there was a little of that.
Yeah.
That I can't really tell you. I just know that the closet was scary and it hurt. And I think I remember a big thing about telling my dad and mom something, or I have memories of them talking about my mom saying they gotta go. I don't know, but like I said, I don't know what I make up and what I don't. But I don't feel like I did anymore, but who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, that's so hard.
So there was that part that wasn't great.
Yeah. And then I know leaning into, you were 15, you got pregnant. Or were you 16? How old were you?
Oh, no, I was 15. I was probably like 14 and a half when I got pregnant, or something around 14. Yeah, that was after my oldest brother died and we went back to Arizona. My mom just didn't do well. You know, our grandparents lived in Arizona too because they had a house in Arizona and in Provo. And so we moved back and they were kind of monitoring, but I just started hanging out around my brother and around drug people. And I met, I guess it was my brother's a lady. She was a drug dealer. To me, she was really old at the time because I was young, but I would hang out with her younger daughter when I wasn't like sneaking in and using meth or whatever. And so then I think my mom moved back to Provo and I ran away and I stayed there in Arizona with my brother. And my mom might have went to some sort of treatment or something because I don't know how I stayed there, but I was in Arizona and she was gone. And I ended up staying with this lady that her and my brother used to date. And then she just kind of took me in and she'd let us go. Like, I think we were running drugs. I really do. Like we'd go give packages to a guy at a bar, but he was like Uncle so-and-so or something. So it was always like some sort of relation that we didn't know, but we would run things around for her. And the one time we ran it, I think it was to a bar or a place we couldn't go into. And he was like, wanted me to come over and she didn't want to do it. And she was like, so I went and took the stuff to him and he just kind of, but I wasn't that young. So he was like acting like we were dating or we were just having sex or not dating, but like, we did it. And I remember not wanting to do it, but I didn't, You
didn't know how to say no.
Yeah. I didn't know what was going on, really. And so then we did that.
You were still a kid. How old was he?
He was over 21. He was. Yeah. I don't know how old. They all seemed really old to me. But as old as I am now, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but that's assault. He's an adult. You were a child. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you got pregnant from that.
Yeah.
And again, if I remember the story right, you at the time were obviously underage. So you weren't given the choice if you could keep the baby or not keep the baby.
Well, I didn't even really know I was pregnant. Like, I was living there and she was like, what is going on with you? And she looked at my stomach one day and she's like, are you pregnant? And I was like, I didn't know what you did to get pregnant, because as church, you don't talk about it.
Yeah.
So it was like, really in my brain, I didn't hadn't had a boyfriend, hadn't any of that. So yeah, she was like, you're pregnant. You need to tell your mom. And I was like, how am I supposed to call my mom and tell her that, oh, I know you can't take care of your other kids and your life is already such hell, but I went and got pregnant. Great, yay. You know, and so I was like, yeah, I'll tell her. I'll tell her, you just got to give me time. Got to give me time. And she's like, okay. And then with the LDS upbringing, I was like, okay, so I can't go back home and have my mom have another baby, but I don't believe in abortion. So I wandered around the streets of Arizona, and I literally went to a couple LDS churches and spoke with a bishop and said, this is the thing I need, a family for my baby. And they'd be like, what? Where do you live? What's your mom's name? And I was like, that is not important. Like, I need someone to come with me to the hospital and take this baby home, and they have to be Mormon. That's like in my brain, that was my thing. He'd given me a couple names. I'd met with this one bishop a couple times. And then, so anyways, there's so many angles of the story.
Yeah.
Like, so her brother, this girl that I lived with, or lady, her brother was not in use. And he was a really nice guy, him and his wife. And they were like, I didn't know, but they were interested in adopting children. I didn't know that, but they were like, look, we're going to take you to your doctor's appointments. We're going to make sure you have food. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant. And they took me to the doctor, and I said, well, I've used meth and marijuana. And he was like, well, don't use that anymore. Let's wing you down. And I guess we kind of winged me down. I don't remember how it went, but I stopped using. Mm-hmm. And then they were taking me to appointments and to the doctors, but I just thought they were a nice couple helping. And then so then I went home. I don't know what I was doing, just staying at her house. And one day they called me and they said, so have you told your mom? And I'm like, no, I haven't told her yet, but I'm working on things. And they were like, well, we would like to adopt your baby. And I was like, and I got to know him because he'd taken me to appointments. And of course, the people pleaser, I was like, well, you guys have been so nice to me. Like, but they were a different religion. And I was all, I'm sorry. That's the one thing I can give my child is like the right of whatever. And that's what I'm going to do. And so they weren't happy about it. And when I tell this to like people, like when I used to even tell you girls, because I told you this even when you're little, I don't know if people will believe me or just think, like sometimes I don't even believe myself, but it's all true. But like they were like, well, okay, we'll just think about it and we're going to tell her about you and write her a letter. So I wrote her a letter, and because I was people pleasing, like, yeah, I'll really think about it. I'll write a letter and it'll be an open adoption and we'll talk about you. And okay. So I end up going into labor, which this is going to sound crazy, but I really thought I had to poop. I thought I was, and she found me in the bathroom. She's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm going to the bathroom and leave me alone. She's like, no. And she takes me to the hospital. And I remember going over, like in the wheelchair, over the bumps thinking, oh, that hurts. Like, what am I going to do? And then when I woke up, I said to the candy stripper, whatever, nurse or whatever they were, I was like, where's my baby? And she was like, well, we don't usually allow the mom to see the baby in these situations. And I was all, what are these situations? Like, what are you talking about? And apparently I'd signed paperwork saying that I was going to adopt her to this family. And this is hard because I haven't told my adopted daughter this whole story, but she came and found me, which is really good news, your sister. But so anyways, I just left. I pulled out my IVs. I left the hospital. I knew where they lived. I was going to go get her. And I went to go get her. And anyways, it was a mess. I ended up calling the police. I ended up trying to get away with her. But they sent me back to Provo. My mom had gone back to Provo. And they were like, we won't press charges as long as you just stay out of our lives. So I just hit the ground running in Provo and just started, using whatever I could and doing whatever I could, and told my mom and my grandma the truth. And we tried to send her a blanket, and they sent it back. Return to sender, and please don't bother us anymore. And so I just was like, okay. But they were good people.
Before my first wedding, like a week before my first wedding, she found us on Facebook. I have 4 sisters, 5 including her. 3, 4 including her. I'm thinking about me. She found us on Facebook. She'd been trying to find my mom all that time because it was a closed adoption. So once she was 18, they released like your name, right, to her or something. Or she was able to start finding you. But which is a crazy story. But gosh, Mom, it's so traumatic. I can't imagine. I mean, there's so many layers to all of it.
Yeah.
The church and your mom struggling already and you being so young and the assault and all the things that happened. Like, I mean, there's just so many layers to that. That was probably so painful. Do you remember what you felt like when what was the overarching feeling you felt in that moment when you realized that she was gone?
I think I just felt probably, I was mad. I was mad that I hadn't spoke up and done something. And I felt like I'd been lied to and cheated and robbed, and that I'd failed the one thing, that I'd failed her.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know, a great loss. I was just really sad.
Yeah.
I missed her, and I didn't. I don't know. It just.
Not to go to the next thing, because I feel like this is. I mean, we could sit here for 6 hours with your story, but I think, kind of leading into the rest of your teenage years and then into your early adult years, you met my dad.
Yeah.
And that was traumatic in all of its own ways. And I would like to think that a lot of your relationship with him and allowing that type of treatment in a relationship stemmed from seeing that in your dad and your mom and all that you had been through with men. So let's talk a little bit about that. How did you meet him, and what was that relationship like?
I came back home. I'd had the baby, came back home. And I was friends with his sister. Again, I was trying to get back into I think high school. Yeah. But his sister lived in our neighborhood, and of course the family hated me. I was just like the bad kid, but she had a brother. We lived in Provo. Salt Lake is like an hour away, and she had 2 brothers that lived in Salt Lake, and she was going to go babysit for her one brother, and the one brother didn't agree. They didn't like me. And so she drove us down there, and the brother said, well, Kim can't stay here. You're babysitting the kids on the weekend. You can't. So she said, you can stay at my other brother's house, and he smokes weed, so it's all good. So I was like, oh, okay. So she dropped me off there. And I mean, I love your dad, but he's got some issues. He's got some mental health issues and stuff. And so I think I met him, and I don't want to say like he did anything wrong, but I didn't know how to say no to anyone about anything. I mean, I couldn't even say, no, you can't have my baby. You can't, no, I don't want to do this. No, so, and you're getting stoned and you're drinking. And so he wanted to sleep together. And I mean, by that time I'd slept with like maybe 2 people that like I knew how to do that. So we did that and I got pregnant. And then.
And this was like after just meeting him.
Yeah, I think I got pregnant that weekend.
The tea is hot.
Well, yeah, because I stayed that weekend and I don't know. I know he was a little, like I remember calling her being like, your brother's freaking weird, man. And just when are you going to be here? And I'm not saying he forced me, but I didn't really want to.
You guys have a 9-year age gap?
10.
10-year age gap. So you were 19?
Yeah.
And he was
I think I was, just turning 19. Well,
so
we
18.
got married at 19, so I was probably like 18 something. Yeah. And like I said, I didn't really date or it sounds weird, but I didn't know how you slept with people. Like it wasn't like a thing. So, but I knew that it was a thing. Like you did it. And when the guy wanted to do it, you did it. And so it was like I was staying at his house and I was stoned and drunk. And so that was like almost like payment, but not saying he was a bad person.
But you don't have to label him a bad person, but what he did was bad and wrong. Well, so he took advantage of you.
Yes, but I should have been smarter and not like. I know it's weird because you say took advantage, but when you're in the world, like if you're smoking someone's weed and you're drinking with
Mom,
them.
you don't owe people sex as payment just because you use their drugs.
I thought that then, so I didn't think it was like he was bad. I thought it was transactional.
Yeah, that's not how life works. But I love you.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, your relationship with Dad. So you guys.
So then I left and went back home,
and you're pregnant.
Well, I don't know this yet, but she kept telling me, "Oh man, my brother wants to see you again." And I was all, "Dude, no, like I'm good." And she was like, and he was calling me, and I was just like, "No." Mm-hmm. And then, you find out you're pregnant. I found out I was pregnant, and I was just like, yeah. And in my mind, like he wasn't horrible. He was weird and he was pushy and he was a little drinky. Like he wasn't the greatest guy, but he had a home. He had a job. Mm-hmm. He was
and you were pregnant with his child,
in love
which
with me. I was
in
pregnant
the church
with his child.
Is like, if you're pregnant, get married.
Well, what was I going to do? And turn back to my mom and be like, hey, just kidding.
Yeah. Now, I'm trying to remember if I remember the story correctly. You found out you were pregnant and then he told you, I could be wrong, we either get married and have this baby or you get an abortion.
Well, yeah, I went and I told him I'm pregnant and he's like, well, he didn't even want to get married. He's like, well, then you're aborting. And he had one before and he was like, I'm not having a child. I'm not. Nope. And I was all, oh no. I'm like, I'm gonna raise this child. I'm not losing another child. Mm-hmm. You can either marry me or you cannot be a part of it, but you can't force me to get an abortion and I won't. And he was like, well, then he's like, if you're keeping it, then you're marrying me because I'm not paying for a baby. If we're doing it, we're doing it. Because he tried to convince me, and I was all no. So it was like basically like, okay, well, I'm going to keep this baby. What do we have to do to keep it? And he was like, well, we have to get married and you have to move up here. And so it was like, yay, I'm getting married.
Yeah. So how long did you know Dad before you guys got married? Like, were you pregnant when you got married? How quickly did you guys get married?
I was pregnant.
Wow. So what, a couple months and you guys got married after your first meeting?
Yeah, I'm thinking I was like probably 3 or 4 months pregnant when I told him. And then we got married like when I was, I don't know, your aunt did the math. I think when I was 5 months pregnant or something, because we were trying to hide it church-wise. Like, we're just getting married to get married.
Yeah, which is a whole nother story.
Yeah. So
You get married to my dad, which you guys know a bit about my father. My dad is, and he was when you met him, schizophrenic, bipolar.
not schizophrenic, psychotic.
Okay.
So, it's psychosis, in psychosis.
Okay.
So a step away from schizophrenic, which he probably is now.
Your ex-husband, my dad, struggled with addiction as well as you. You guys both were struggling with addiction, and so you got sober for
Yeah,
while
as
you
soon
were
as
pregnant.
I found out I was pregnant, I
And
sobered
then
up.
quickly after she was born was kind of the peak of some of your guys' most intense
I
drugs,
stayed,
right? Drug use.
well, I stayed sober for maybe 3 or 4 months. I think 4 months because I was nursing. And then, yeah, I wanted him to get sober, but he said no. And so then, I started drinking and using marijuana again. Yeah.
And what was his drug of choice, if I'm remembering? Heroin at that time?
And cocaine.
Cocaine. That's always been his drug of choice, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know has memories of being in a little tent. Her
Yeah.
little Simba tent. You guys would put her in the tent, and that's when you would use to try to protect her from
Well, yeah, I bought her a Lion King tent for
Lion
Christmas
King tent.
because
Yeah.
I didn't, because I was always like, I used, but I didn't want the kids to know or to get the
Yeah.
air around them
Yeah.
or anything. So I thought, oh, that tent is a perfect way to like
Protect
put her
her.
in there with headphones because she can't hear the lighter clicking. Listen to Lion King story, the air can't get in.
Yeah.
And then I'd have a couple minutes to use.
Yeah. And just to give a little context too, I think, you know, and we'll get into your next relationship too, post dad, but I mean, I'll speak for if you don't feel comfortable. Dad was extremely abusive to you, physically, emotionally, and he also committed adultery many times and cheated on you. So,
Yeah.
do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, your dad is not really. He probably wasn't meant to be in a relationship, and yeah, he's got mental illness really, really heavily, and he was, always thought I was cheating on him, and so he was an alcoholic, and so he beat me up a lot, and just kind of emotional because he's mentally unstable, so it's emotional to be in. And in the younger years, he didn't even like want to deal with the kids. It was just, you're my wife and you're not going to cheat on me and I'm going to pay for this child, so I'm going to be in the picture.
Yeah, and I think we'll get more into like why you feel like maybe you stayed in that relationship and continued having kids, but pretty quickly you guys had the next two, which I won't share one of their names, but Mary and the other one. And yeah, you guys, I mean, how quickly after did you guys start having kids again?
How far are you apart?
5 years. So during that first 5 years of your marriage, why do you think you stayed in the marriage?
Because I didn't have a high school diploma. I'd never really had a job.
Yeah.
Fast food and stuff, but I didn't want to lose, and in my mind, the man takes care of the home and the woman takes care of the baby, and so it was worth the beatings, and it was worth what I went through, because I just kind of, like I said, he wasn't really a hands-on dad, so I would separate it. But being honest, she saw a lot of things.
Yeah.
And she has a lot of trauma. So I didn't do a good job. I thought I was like protecting her, and, I thought I was doing good by having him there because he supported us. And when he was sober, he was okay.
But
and
let's take some of the shame and guilt off of you. This isn't about how you were his mother. This is why you felt like the abuse that you were enduring from dad was okay. Like, this isn't about guilting or shaming you. I think it's really sad that you felt like what you just said. The beatings were worth it. That's sad. That's sad for
It's
you.
transactional though, really. Like it was like, what?
Yeah.
Do you go home and live, or do you be homeless?
Yeah.
Or do you
felt
not
like
have
your hands
the things
were
for this
tied.
child?
Yeah. Well, then you have a kid and you're worried about providing for the child and providing a good life. And so you were obviously doing the best that you could. But it just makes me sad for you that you experienced that in all your relationships and you've never had someone that's safe and healthy. And yeah, I mean, what a terrible situation for you to be in with an absent father, trying to be a mother. Both of you struggle with addiction. Dad's abusive. Like, gosh, and then the church, all that, and the pressure of that, and feeling like a failure because you had a kid before and not wanting to repeat what happened in the past. It's just a lot. It's intense. Do you feel like you've ever accepted that how dad treated you is wrong?
Zing, that's a question. I think that I think that now, maybe in sobriety, if I thought about it, like, that's a weird question. No, I never really thought it was wrong because it was like he wasn't forcing me to stay. Mm-hmm. And it served its purpose. Like I was able to stay home with, and yes, I used, but I was a very hands-on mom when I wasn't using. And it was almost like, I don't know, I think it's generational, like, kind of trauma. Like my mom, not in a drug way, not excusing my drugs, but when my dad was cheating on her, she would just pray that it would get better and it was okay. And if she was just a good wife, then the husband would come back, and she just needed to stay and be that good wife and mother. And so I think that I just thought, well, if I be the good wife, and I'd kept telling him, like, when are you going to, like, will you get sober with me? Not that I was getting sober myself, but it was like, we're having kids. We want to be sober. We want to, like, and I would hope that I could turn it around as well.
That you could fix it like you'd always done your whole life.
Yeah. And if I didn't put up with the beatings, that's the thing too. Maybe, I guess in a way I would be most mad at Dad that if I didn't put up with the beatings or do the sex things the way he wanted, because he was very skewed that way. And like I say, I didn't know it was normal, so I knew I didn't like it. But my whole life I just thought that I didn't like sex. I thought, why do people like it? It's so not great. But it, I just didn't know normal. Like, you would think it was weird when you said you and Dad were in love, and I was like, no. I mean, I love your dad as a person. Yeah. I don't love what he does but I love him. Yeah. I was never in love with him. Yeah. I don't think I was never in love with him. Yeah. So all of that was just weird, but it was very, like, if I didn't do what he wanted, it was fully known that he'd go and get a girl to come. He'd pay for a girl to come and get it done.
Yeah, he would pay for escorts.
Or and then the money was going other places. Like, it was like, I wanted to keep the money and keep putting up with that was keeping
the security
what I
and
wanted
the stability
close. Yeah. So I didn't ever think of it as like, you horrible man, because I just thought, well, it's worth it at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Dang, Mom. Yeah, it's heavy stuff. I think it's so hard because, like I said, I think until we really start getting healthy and start understanding all these things, it's like, it is so easy to excuse the abuse and excuse the things. And I think it's so important to remember, and I always say this on the podcast, but like, it's not about anyone being the bad guy, but people do bad things that are wrong, and you need to validate that. Like, the abuse that you experienced is real. Doesn't mean you need to hate Dad. You can hate what he did to you. Because that's righteous anger. Rightly so, you should be angry at the things that you experience. And again, Dad has a ton of trauma and a crazy childhood that led him to all the things that he did. So it's like, it's not about shaming and trying to make people bad guys, but people do bad things that are wrong and they affect us. And it's important to validate those things for yourself too, because as much as you've done bad things and hurt people, people have done bad things to you and they've hurt you. And we are usually a result of what runs before us until we run out of it.
Right.
We're going to repeat the cycle. And hearing your story, it's like you repeated the cycle that your mom had. She was in an abusive marriage. She got cheated on. She stayed. She did all the things. She tolerated it. And look at what happened to you, you know? And it's like all of us, you know? It's like, and I'm in hella therapy and I have been for years and I'll continue to be in it because we have to, like, that's what sucks about life, but also something beautiful about it is it's not your fault that those things happen to you, but it is your responsibility to change the trajectory of your life, you know? So that's why I'm so proud of you for where you are today. But yeah, so you and Dad, you're married, obviously not a good situation. You guys are in and out of addiction. You're trying to get sober for the kids. You have 2 more kids. And then I come along. So then you got 4. Okay. And I want to lead into kind of the divorce and the breakdown of your marriage because that's a good section. But so you have all of us kids. You're kind of just getting through it.
Well, yeah. And I'm in and out of sobriety because every time I find out I'm pregnant, I get off the drugs.
Well, I remember when I was a baby, like up until I was 5 or 6, you were sober.
Yeah.
And then right around that age is when you started using.
Well, with Mary, I got sober with Mary. I was, yeah.
Semi-sober with me.
No, I never used with you.
Oh, when you were pregnant?
Yeah, or with, well, no, I think that I was sober with you the most part. Well, no, okay, I say sober, but prescription things that were.
You guys were abusing prescription drugs, but you weren't using like street drugs.
Well, Dad was. You remember when? Well, I don't know. Mary, you were a baby because I tried to swoop back in and get you out, so Dad didn't kill us all. But he was still using the cocaine, while me and Mary and Vela were church. So I was like sober. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he would bring them in, but I wasn't using the illegal.
So
and marijuana
you guys
was still illegal, so I wasn't.
So a huge I'd say crutch or security or peace for you guys came from the church, right? Of kind of like, if we just go back to church, we'll be a happy family, we'll do all the things. I remember going to primary, doing all the things.
Yeah.
And then about 6 or 7, or what age was I? Like, when did Dad get disabled? I remember he used to sit us down and make us read the Book of Mormon for like 8 hours.
Yeah. And you would get in trouble if you didn't pay attention.
Oh, yeah.
And you were little. Like, I try to get you to pay attention. I try to help you,
But to lead into this next part, because like I said, we could sit here for like 7 hours. He gets crippled. He's then technically disabled. And then you have to work full time. Dad's at home. Crazy at home with all of us. Lots of trauma, lots of crazy stuff. There's so many stories in Pat's house. I mean, it goes on and on. The FBI raiding our house. Yeah. There's a lot. But you go work full time, and this leads into the next really big part of the story, which goes into your divorce and then your relationship that was also really abusive and traumatic. So I'll let you take it away. Do you want me to start?
Well, so Dad gets sober, and then I start to realize that he's not just a mean drunk. He's crazy. And we lived with the church crazy for quite a lot of years. Like, I don't know if anyone knows LDS, but arrested off the testimony stand. Like, crazy.
Did he strip down in front of the testimony stand and saying you're all damned to hell?
Yeah, I tried to go through the temple gates, and
it was interesting for sure.
Hey, is that your dad?
Oh, one funny memory I always remember. I remember getting so mad at Vela because I always wanted the Taco Bell bean burritos, but they were like $1.50, and she would always bring us the Del Taco ones that were like 50 cents. I'm like, what is this brokey stuff? Come on.
You always wanted the bougie food, though.
Yeah, I did.
I didn't even know what half your vegetables. I go with the list, like a leek. What does this child think she wants?
Yeah, because when you got food stamps,
Yeah.
like later, and I started cooking when I was 14, I would go to the store and buy all this bougie stuff and cook for you guys.
You know what? A trauma
Like
that
potato
I
leek
remember
soup.
feeling bad about you. Just a side note.
What?
You would sit there and be starving and watch cooking shows. And I was like, Nicole, why do you got to watch a cooking show? Because you'd be like, because I'm so hungry. And you'd make these lists. And then you'd have me go to the grocery store and bulk up on all this stuff. And you'd try to cook for us. But you
I had
would
hella
sit
food
there
trauma.
starving, watching cooking shows.
Yeah, but they were therapeutic for me. I honestly loved them. Anyways. So you realize Dad ain't it. I got to get out of this. He's scary for the kids and for me.
Oh, well, the last go round with him was when he tried to, I barely got you out of the house.
That was the final straw. There's a lot of stuff that happens at Pat's house.
No, that wasn't Pat's house. We bought the house by Sherry's.
Oh.
Where you guys had plank and that on the trampoline.
Hold the mic a little closer, Mom. You're good.
Yeah, that was that house. And so I knew at that point,
it wasn't safe anymore.
Well, no, because when I got Vela and Mary out, I had to go back for you. And he told me he was going to slit your throat and get the Satan out of all of us. And it had been hours of trying to get out of the ropes and like trying to talk him into not doing anything. And they honestly told me, well, did he hit you? And I was like, not this time. I'm like, I could go back. I dodged the hatchet, and they're like, yeah, we can't let you in unless he's hit you. And I'm like, I got all my kids right here in this car and I have nowhere to go. And so we got into
broken system
that shelter. But I realized at that point that either Dad was going to kill one of us, well, any of us. So so I left.
So kind of leading into this next part, because again, like I said, I'm trying to move through the story is because there's so many parts. I mean, we could be here all day. Because Dad moved out, you guys got separated, and then you got divorced when I was 8. But where does ex-boyfriend come into play? Before. I remember her face was white and she's like, Nicole, you have to get in the car. And I was like, what's going on? What's going on? And then I remember the doctor called us and told us he wanted us to get on the phone with you because he thought you were going to die. So he didn't think we were going to make it in time to see you before you died. And I remember that was pretty intense. So you then were in like not urgent care, but you were in the main hospital for 6 months and then physical therapy for 6 months.
Yeah, I was in an induced coma then because I'd broken.
Yeah. You had broken your pelvis?
I broke my hip, fractured my shoulder, my insides. I punctured a lung. That's what first killed me. My intestines were wrapped around my heart. Yeah. Like everything I had 98 staples. Like they cut me open and brain injury. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I just remember it was like intense and it was long. And at the time, me and my sisters went and moved in with a relative while you were in the hospital for that, period of time. Which, I mean, it was a miracle that you lived. Truly a miracle.
They didn't think that I would even, and they said I'd be a vegetable. Yeah. Like I had to learn how to walk and talk
which that was what really started to spark addiction again, right? Because you were on a lot of pain medication.
Yeah, because I had gotten sobriety, I think, handled, and I was doing the church thing and I was leaving Dad and I thought I turned my life over to God. I thought things were getting better. Yeah. And then I left the hospital on so many pain meds.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, it's hard as I can't imagine. I did have one time actually an alcoholic come on the podcast. It was really cool to talk to her, but yeah, she talked to me a lot about addiction and just, how tricky it is. Like, I think it's so easy for people who are in relationship or love addicts to feel like it's so personal. And oftentimes it's just not. It's like addiction is so intense and it makes sense that would spark a relapse within you, especially after something as traumatic as that. And then you're going through a divorce with Dad. And then I remember when you did finally get out of the hospital, and some of the siblings came to live with you. Some of you stayed with the relative. So we all are obviously excited to return home to our mom at that point. Her and my dad had divorced, and she told us that this guy was going to come and stay with us. He needed a place to stay shortly. We didn't know she was in a relationship with this guy. And so he came and lived with us. And that was a whole nother trauma. Insane. So he is bipolar, or is he borderline?
No, he's schizophrenic.
Schizophrenic, borderline, right? What is he like diagnosed with? A lot of things?
Yeah.
Okay. And he has a crazy traumatic life. So what I remember, just to speed up the story a little bit, because we're probably running on a lot of time and I don't want the cameras today. He comes and lives with us and gets you pregnant pretty quick.
Yeah.
And he was, I would say, even more than dad, mentally and emotionally abusive, as well as physically abusive to you and to all of us.
Yeah. Well, he was so ill that he's like, I didn't know it.
And he was
I
only
don't know
19,
how I didn't
right?
know it. Yeah, he was 19.
Well, I mean, that was your story of origin. That was what
but he
dad
was very dangerous.
But to be
sweet.
fair, you really,
that was
in
the
your
first
mind,
person I've ever been in love with.
You felt like you fell in love with this guy.
I did fall in love with him. That was like a movie. That was like a horror movie that you see those Snapped or whatever. Like, I really thought he was just a nice guy. And he was like, I don't even know. He was so scary for you guys, and kept me like a lot of it was like, I was afraid he was going to kill us all. Same with dad. It's just weird to think. But he was very, very abusive, like physically and emotionally. And I think that dad was maybe a little more sane, or I still believed in.
I don't think dad was more sane. I think they were both very unwell. I think that boyfriend was much more like mentally and emotionally abusive. I think dad was just more like, I don't know. It just, in my experience. Do you feel like that, Mary? It was just different. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah. He was very unpredictable. Well, he was also 19 when he moved in with us. What, a year younger than your oldest? Yeah, so he was very young. He was, very, very scary.
Yeah, I think we knew how to navigate dad.
Yeah.
And I grew into dad's illness. And I remember him saying, it's your kids or me.
Yeah.
It's like your kids or me. And
well, he was also like kind of a kid. I mean, he was 19, so he didn't want to deal. I mean, we were all teenagers. I think I was 11 or 12 at the time. He's only a couple years older than me, 7 or 8 years older than me. So yeah, I mean, and it's a lot coming in with all the kids. I mean, I think he wanted you and he wanted what you gave him. Well, and I remember, so you have your baby, our half brother, and then pretty quickly, or not pretty quickly, but obviously he was very abusive and there was a lot going on with him, and you guys both started using again, and pretty quickly DCFS did get involved when me and the brother were still in the home. Then again, just to kind of get moving through every part, we got removed from the house and I went and stayed with relatives, and I won't say where brother went, but then you continued to have a relationship with him on and off for a couple years. But don't you feel like part of that, you've said before, was because once you lost your kids at that point, you were like, he's the only thing I have.
Yeah.
So you guys continue to have a relationship on and off. You're struggling with addiction. Obviously, after losing your kids, I'm sure that sparked a lot of wounds for you. And it felt like, well, I might as well just use to numb the pain. Is that kind of how you felt?
Well, I got back into the using. Like, he wasn't even really a user in the beginning. Like, when he got out of the hospital, drugs weren't the thing. But then the accident, the pain pills, I got into heroin, which is its own beast. And I just could not, like, could not break free of it. And I was told, you know, meth helps you get off heroin. So then I got into meth. And then I just used to survive.
Yeah. Didn't he trap you inside a room for like 2 days or something?
Yeah.
Like tied up?
Yeah. So he held me hostage for 4 days, and the neighbors kind of started to notice. Of course, we lived in the ghetto, so, you know, but eventually they came and did a welfare check and saw that all the chairs and everything was all piled up. And so you could hear them outside, like the police. And as they were trying to come in, he was stabbing me, but just with a pocket knife, like, and I went to treatment in Salt Lake Odyssey, which is a really hard treatment. And I think that during that treatment, I knew that I'd lost him. Like, it was like, well, I won't ever see him again. And you know, that's the thing that really took, like, in that time. So he does that, he's out of my life. And that's when your sister, who was adopted, suddenly finds us. And so, like, that wound of, oh, she thinks I hate her. She thinks, like, I remember I got a call from your aunt, you know, it was, well, she found us and she wants to see you. And I was like, I had just gotten out of the hospital for ODing on heroin. And when they resuscitating me, they cracked a couple ribs. And I was really hurting. And I was homeless on the streets and just a mess. And I thought, I don't want to see her. She's like, I just wanted to thank you for giving me life. And this is what I've done. And all those grandbabies were there. And when I left, it was like, I was just, I don't know, it was like she came around, so she was back and she told me she loved me. And
sorry guys, we got cut off. My cameras are going to die. This is a long story. But going back into kind of what we were talking about, all of this is obviously very heavy. It's a lot. But yeah, to kind of wrap and get to you getting sober. So there was obviously a lot of stuff that happened that was really intense that maybe made you question, like, okay, what am I doing? What do I want to do? And what was it that you feel like finally really got you to the point where you were ready to get sober? It's fine.
I think at some point there, like, I know this sounds weird, but radical acceptance is like something I was taught in one of my last treatments. And it was just because I think just with being a people pleaser and with always trying to fix everything, I think I had to just, how do I put this? I think that it was just a random breaking down of, like, the life that I wanted, the Mormon life, the family didn't work. And then I tried again and it didn't work. And like losing child after child, I just felt like such a horrible person. And like then losing relationships with you guys, or just, you know, like you say, it was just like almost a mute point. Like, am I going to get better? Is this ever going to change? And I felt like it wasn't, unless, like, I didn't have anyone to change it for. I didn't have anyone to fix it for. Yeah. But for myself. Which is weird to think, because I didn't really, I don't know, you have to, I think one of the big things that I realized was, like, not being the victim was huge for me. Like, just because there was no more bad guys. I feel so sad, but like if I lean into it and I give myself grace, but just enough that I also give myself a harsh warning. Like, life is not easy.
Yeah.
And but you don't blame me anymore, and that's huge. Like, I feel like I used to, either I was a victim and I felt like everyone was blaming me even if they weren't, but I don't blame myself anymore. I don't blame my mom. I don't blame any of the people. Like, it's all just, we all just walk through hard things.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, I've been in treatment to where some people's trauma, it might be just that they got scared or they got something, but the level of trauma that people feel is individualized to, like, you might not think it's a whole lot that they've been through, but to them it was a whole lot.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that it was a whole lot, but I do. But it's like, it doesn't matter what it is. I just have to lean into it.
Feel it.
Like, you got to feel it to heal it. And then you just got to remember that it's just momentary. Like, the next, because you can't live in the past.
Yeah.
And you can't
be worried about the future. Yeah.
Because look at how much past damage I made chasing futures.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally.
And I can't be mad at God.
Yeah.
Or I can't blame things. Like, I just don't. You just have to get to a point where it's like you live for the very next second.
Yeah.
And I want to feel it the second it hits. I want it to hit me hard, and I want to feel it so that I can get through it and get around it and get over it and not get stuck in it.
And I think it's really uncomfortable to feel those emotions because, like, I think oftentimes, I talked about this in the last episode, but secondary emotions of, like, anger or all these things, it's like it's rooted in some deep thing and that we feel, like, in a deep pain and a deep sorrow, and it's so uncomfortable to uncover it and to really feel it because it's scary, and it's easier to just, like, be hard and, like, I don't know. So I think what you're saying is huge, and I think you've done so much work in your life, not even just in sobriety, but I feel like just who you are and how much healthier you are now. Like, I feel like, I just feel like you have your life back and you've learned so much, and I think your sobriety is huge, Mom. Like, most people do not make it out. How long you've struggled with addiction. I mean, starting when you were 8 years old, you know? And, like, also, I was telling this to earlier, but it's really sad because I look at your life and it's like, what choice did you really have? Like, yeah, maybe you could have not struggled with addiction, but, like, you were, I mean, it was right before you. It was easy to walk into that with everything you had been through. And I'm so proud of you for walking out now. And I agree, we can't harp on the past because there's so much guilt and shame rooted in the past. And then the future, there's so much anxiety. One of my favorite things, this one therapist I love always says is, he says, all you need to worry about is doing the next right thing. Like, you can't worry about the past. You can't worry about this. What's the next right thing I can do? Even if you're in a terrible situation, you're like, how did I end up here? What's the next right thing that I can do? And I feel like you're living proof of that after everything you've been through and all the trauma and all the damage and all the broken relationships. Like, the fact that every day you're showing up, you're facing it, you're taking accountability, you're making hard changes, you're in therapy, you're getting healthy. Like, that's huge. That's huge. And anyone who's watching this who has been through similar things or struggles with addiction, like, that's so inspiring to people. And it's messy. It's not perfect.
No.
You know?
I thought life, it's a weird thing is you think you get sober and everything's going to be great. But on the daily, like, it's not great.
Yeah.
But it is, like, you find the things that are great within the mess.
Yeah.
And you just stick to those. Like, I stick to those. Like, life is still so hard.
Yeah.
And I'm living with the consequences that I caused. But I'd rather live with them and deal with them than run and hide.
But before you were living with the consequences you caused, you were living in the consequences someone else caused, which pushed you into doing a lot of these things. So I think having grace and compassion for yourself is important. And it's hard, but it is so important. Because I think oftentimes we're doing the best we can in whatever given moment. Not to say we shouldn't accept or take accountability for the wrongs that we've done, but I think yeah, I just think life is so much harder than any, and it's easy when you're young to be like, what the heck, you know, and judge people. But I think as you get older and you go through really hard life challenges, like me going through my divorce, that was so humbling for me, because I'm like, oh wow, I've judged so many people who've been divorced and left the church and all this stuff, and judge my parents and judge this and judge that. And it's like, life is tricky. It's hard. It's complex. And there's so much that goes into our situations. I think I would love to speak into, just if you could think about yourself as a little girl, like your 8-year-old self, what would you say to her?
That it's all going to be okay and it will pass. And that you are a freaking soldier.
And that she didn't deserve anything that she went through. She didn't deserve
I got to remember that. I guess I still need a lot of therapy.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
No, she didn't deserve it.
Yeah. She didn't deserve any of what she went through. And even in all your relationships. And I think it's huge because you're, again, working towards breaking this cycle that you've been in your whole life. And I hope and I believe that your next relationship will be healthy and will be with someone who's safe, because you deserve that. Before we close this episode out, I would just like to ask you if there's anything you would like to share with anyone who maybe has struggled with addiction in their life and feels like they're never going to make it out. What's a way that you would encourage them or help them feel seen and loved?
Just be present. One moment at a time. It will pass. It seems like it won't. And really, sometimes you don't want it to. You want to stay in it. But you can't. Just breathe. Breathe and let it pass. You'll be okay. You don't need it. It's a fake world. It's a fake feeling. Like the drugs make you so safe and so comfortable. But it's all a lie. And you think like it's too hard to think of being out of it and everything being okay. But you just got to trust the process. Like I used to hate all the fortune cookie things they'd say. Oh, just be present. Oh, just trust the process. But honestly.
Sorry, guys. We're going to close the episode out because my camera keeps overheating and dying. But what I wanted to say, Mom, is I love you. And I think this episode will be an encouragement to people that everyone has a story. And there's a lot that goes into the things that we do. And I think what you're doing is huge. And you're going to change and inspire a lot of people's lives by this episode. And you guys know the drill. If you'd like to support the podcast, you guys can follow me on all my socials, rate this podcast, do all the things. And also, I'm going to link my mom's socials down below. So you guys go follow her. She actually wants to be a comedian, which she's really funny. So go follow her for that. And also, she wants to share more of her story and more of her journey with sobriety. So I love you, Mom. Thanks for coming on this episode.
I love you too.
And I will close this out by asking what elephants are in your room. My name is Nicole, and I'll talk to you guys in 2 weeks.